What are slowly changing dimensions? An important interview question. It can be asked in SSIS as well as in SSAS. So let's see. A slowly changing dimension table is the one for which the data will be changing over a period of time. Let's say the data is not constant. If you take any dimension table like a dim date where you'll have the calendar information, the data will remain constant. Like month February of year 2002 will fall only in 2002. It will not be changing, or there will be no changes happening to those kind of dimension tables. But there are some dimension tables for which the data will be changing or need to change over a period of time. Let's take an example and let's see what are the different types of slowly changing dimensions and what are the advantages and disadvantages of those stuff. This is one of the tricky questions and you have to be very careful while answering, and it may take some time because it's not like the remaining dimension types that is junk, degenerate dimension, role playing, and the other one, the remaining, whatever it is. Okay. Now let's see what are the different types of slowly changing dimensions. In short, SCDs available, and let's see with an example. There are 5 types of slowly changing dimensions, but 3 are pretty popular compared to the remaining 2. The first 3 are pretty popular. Let's see the different types. They are type 1, type 2, type 3. These are the popular one, and you also have a type 4 dimension, slowly changing dimension type, and type 6, or we call it as hybrid. So these are the different types of SCDs available, and let's see what on what basis these types are created. For example, type 1, what is the base for creating a separate type or category for a SCD? So these categorization of types are mainly based on that way you are going to maintain the data when the data changes over a period of time. So when the data change from the current value to a new value, how you are going to store your data in your dimension table, that tells about the types of the slowly changing dimensions. Let's talk about the first type, that is type 1 slowly changing dimension. In type 1 slowly changing dimension, whenever there is a change happen to your data in your dimension table, then you will just directly update it. For example, this is your product table and I'm going to apply the same type 1 SCD on this particular table. Let's see, I targeted the type, the slowly, here my slowly changing dimension column is product cost. As you can see, the product cost will not remain same over a period of time. Let's say I started a company and I released a product XYZ or product 1 with the start value of $10, and it may grow to $12, $15, $20 over a period of time, because it's not constant. I can't go with the same price throughout the career, right? So for a long period of time. So now my intention is how I'm going to store the data when the product's cost is changing. That too by using type 1. If you use type 1 and let's say your product cost of the product 1 change from $10 to let's say $15, then how you are going to maintain it? In type 1, what you will do is you will directly update the value. So if you update the value directly to the table, to the dimension table, then we call it as type 1 slowly changing dimension. So if you create a type 1 slowly changing dimension for the table that is here, then it will be like this. And let's assume your value, product value change to $15, then you will directly update it by using an update statement. Take an update statement and update the value of the product that has been changed. So this is called type 1 slowly changing dimension. In short, type 1 SCD just directly updates the value that is changed. So the disadvantages of this one is you can't track what is the cost of a particular product 5 years back or 2 years back, right? It will be directly updated in your dimension table, and whenever you drag this product 1 into your dimension, into your rows, then it will show the value as $15. It won't show the previous values like $10 when it started and then $12 after a few years, and then you can't track the history of the product value, product cost in this particular case when you use type 1 SCD. That is the major disadvantage of type 1 SCD, but there are few scenarios or few requirements in which type 1 is frequently used. Okay, so this is our type 1 SCD. Now let's see the type 2 SCD. The type 2 SCD, it maintains all the historical data when a product is changed and what is the cost of a product over a period of time. You can track everything. You can track the history of the product, whatever the column value that is getting changed in your SCD dimension SCD table. Let me copy the same table here and let's see how the values will be changed. And if you observe in type 1, there is no new columns added or no new rows added to maintain the history, and it's just direct update of the value that has been changed. Now let's see type 1 SCD. In type 1 SCD, you can maintain, you will store the history of the data. For example, let's say the product value of product 1 change, product cost change from $10 to $15. Then what you'll be doing here is you will maintain the data, like you will say, you will add one more record with the product key, and you will repeat the same data like product 1 and black. So an extra row will be added in this case. Okay, and the product cost is $15. So if you go like this, then you may get a question like, okay, when the product was $10 and when the product was $15. When the product is $15, you can't get that information, right? So what people will do is start date and the end date columns will be added. Let's say this is from Jan 1st, 2010, and end date is Jan 1st, 2014. From Jan 1st, 2010 to Jan 1st, 2014, the product cost is $10 and the current value of the product is $15, and this is the new record which has been added to maintain the history of the changes that has been happened to this product table. And here the start date will be from Jan 1st, 2014, and end date people will leave it as null if this is the current value of the product. So based on this null record, you can track it. Okay, this is the current value of the product. If anyone asks me what is the current value of the product, I'll see. Okay, the current date, I'll take the current date, and when the end date is null, that means this is the current product cost. Okay, and let's say this product cost was $15 only till March of 2014. Then I'll put it as end date March 1st, 2014, and I will insert one more record with the new value, let's say $20. The cost has been changed to $20. This is starting from March 1st, 2014. Sorry. And the end date will be null because this is the current value of the product, the current cost of the product. So this is how people maintain type 2 SCDs. They will maintain all the history. You can easily track, okay, from when to when the product 1 cost $10. If anyone asks you like, okay, what was the product cost of the product 1 in the month of April 2012, you can easily say that the product cost was $10. So this is how people maintain type 2 SCDs in order to keep the changes that has been happened to the data. Now, instead of using null, there are few guys who uses an extra column to maintain whether it's a current record or not. Using this table, if you see, this is the value you are using, null value in the end date means that is the current value of the product, right, or the latest record or the current active record. Now let's say remaining products, these are everything are same starting from Jan 2001, Jan 1st, 2010. Now all the records with the null value as end date will say, okay, the final or the current record for that particular product. You will have only one record with end date is equal to null for every product key, in other words. So this is one way of storing type 2 SCDs. Now let's see, there is one more way people maintain, people use. Instead of using end date, they'll use an extra flag saying that current record. So in current record, what they'll do is they'll maintain yes or no. This has an end date and they'll maintain it as no. This is yes, this is yes, this is yes, this is no, and this is yes. So both are one and the same. This is also type 2 SCD and this is also type 2 SCD, but how they maintain the data is little different. But in this case, the end date they will set to some pretty long date like December 31st, 2099, something like that, or the max date that is possible for the data type that they have taken. So in this case, they are not going to use the end date to find out what is the current record. They'll use the extra flag column to identify the current record in the type 2 SCD. So this is type 1 where they'll directly update the records or update the values. In the type 2, they will maintain the history by adding extra rows and extra columns in this particular case. Now, let's jump into the type 3 SCD. In type 3 SCD, people maintain the data in extra columns. People maintain the new values, not the data. I mean, people maintain the new values in extra columns. Let's say, let me take the same table again. Let's say the product cost of product 1 has been changed from $10 to $15, and let's see how they maintain the data in type 3 SCD. So what they'll do is they'll name this one as old product cost, and they'll add one more column called current product cost. So old product cost will have the old value, and the current product cost, let's say the value has been changed to $15. So they'll have the $15 under current product cost, and they'll have one more column, effective date, from when this has been changed. For example, let's say this has been changed from March 31st of 2014. Then from March 31st, 2014, the product cost has been changed to $15 from $10. Prior to that, it was $10. So this is how they track the history by maintaining an extra column. Here in this case, the major problem with the type 3 SCD is you can't maintain, let's say you have 10 changes happen to a particular product value. Then you need to maintain 10 different columns, right? So what people will do is they'll maintain only 2, the current one and the last one. If you have any requirement saying that, okay, maintain the last 2 changes of this particular or current and the previous value of a particular product cost or something like particular dimension attribute, then you can use type 3 SCD. Or if you have to maintain the changes over a period of time and the changes may be more than 10, 15, 20, then it's better to go with type 2 SCD because the number of rows will get increased in this case, whereas in this particular case, the number of columns will get increased and people don't prefer to have that. Okay, dynamic columns, adding the columns. So that's not the best idea. So type 3 SCD is not frequently used, but I've seen people using in one of the data warehouse design where they maintain all the historical, only one history record and the current record of every dimension member. So these are the frequently used top 3 SCD types, that is type 1, type 2 and type 3. And let's have a quick look at type 4 SCD, what they'll do as part of the type 4 SCD. Type 4 SCD is a little different and people don't prefer to use unless they are not going to use the historical changes in their data warehouse. They may require it whenever they want to, unless they can query it, something like that. So but in data warehouse designing, they will not be using the historical changes, but they'll store it for the future reference. I'll show you an example. Let's say the product cost, the same example again, the product cost changed from $10 to $15, and what they'll do is they'll directly update it to $15 in the main product table. They'll not make any changes here. Okay, they'll not add any rows or they'll not add any columns. Instead, what they will do is they'll add an extra table. And they'll name this table as products history. So in this type 4 SCD, what they'll do is they'll maintain a history table instead of maintaining extra rows or extra columns. So here the product key will be there and product name and color, and it's $10. The value will be $10. This is the old value, right? And there will be effective date or the end date up to when it was a $10. Let's say it is up to March 31st, 2014. So this is how they maintain the history of everything will be moved into a different table, and they'll not use this particular history table in the data warehouse, in the analysis service cube design. They'll use only this stuff which will display the current products, current product costs and current information, and they'll be using this for any other future references. They can directly query this table to get the product cost value or any attribute value that has been changed over a period of time. So I thought that I'm not going to see this kind of design in any of the data warehouses, but I've seen it in one of the data warehouse. I don't want to reveal the client name, but I've seen this kind of design used in one of the data warehouse. If you see the next one, it's a type 6 data, slowly changing dimension type, in which it is the hybrid one. It's a mixture of first, second, and third. You will have all these three in one. What they will do is, if I take the same table and same example, they will add extra rows and they will add extra columns, and they will update the current value. So all the three will be done in the same. So how they will do that? I'll show you. Let's say the product cost. What they'll do is they'll make it as old product cost and current product cost. So this means the type 3 is included, right? Type 3, what we will do is we will add extra columns. So here old product cost will be $10 and new product cost will be $15. And if there is no change happen to any particular product, let's say product 2, it remains the same. So the old product and the new product cost will be the same. Here, if you see, the type 3 is implemented in this particular one, and there will be effective date too, start date and end date, from when to when it has been started and ended. And there will be an extra row, which means the type 2 SCD for the product 1. The color is black. Here the new product cost will be there, $15 and $15. So if you observe here, the current record means the old value and the new value will be the same. So if you see here, the old value and the new value is different, that means that's historical data. And there will be start date and end date also maintained. Let me copy it from here. I don't want to waste the time. So they'll have the start date and end date of this, just like in type 2 SCD, and they'll have a current flag too. This is no and this is yes. And here if you see the dates, this has been starting from March 1st. And let's say this is null, or you can have the last date, the maximum date that you can give for the data type daytime. So if you observe here, this particular type 6, or in other words hybrid slowly changing dimension type, you have all the three types merged, type 1, type 2, and type 3. You have updated the value here to the current product, and both the current and the old value is the same, and you are maintaining an extra record just like in type 2 SCD, and you are maintaining extra columns, one for old and the next one for current, and just like in type 3 SCD. So this is one of the SCD type that I've never seen in my life. People might be using it, but I've never seen this hybrid type of SCD. If the data warehouse table, if the dimension table is pretty complex and they want to track each and every change at every granular, at every minute level, then they may go for this, but I've never seen in my software career. So this is about different types of SCDs, and let's quickly go through each and everything. There are 5 types of SCDs, and there are many. You can design how it depends on how you store the data when the data is changing over a period of time. And top 3 are most popular, type 1, type 2, and type 3, and type 4 and type 6 are least popular compared to the top 3. Now type 1 SCD, it says that just go and update the record. Let's say the value of this product cost has been changed from $10 to $15. It will directly update. The problem with this one is you can't track the history. You can't track the history of the product. Let's say this product was sold 1 million times when it was $10, and it was sold 1 million times when it is $15. So the total sales of this product is 2 million times 2 million, and the cost, if you compare 2 million into $15, will give you the wrong sales. because it was sold 1 million times when it was $10. That means $10 million plus $15 million, the total sales is $25 million. But if you use this SCD, as it won't maintain the history, then it will give you the wrong data, like $30 million is the sales if you go for product cost into the number of sales, number of items sold. The type 2 SCD, it maintains extra records to maintain the history, to track the history. And if you see here, this is the product value has been changed from $10 to $15 on particular date on Jan 1st, 2014, and it continued to be $15 till March 1st, and then on March 1st it's changed again to $20. So whenever there is a change for the attribute value, then a new record will be inserted, and the end date will be updated with the null for the new record and with the current date for the past record. The same type 2 SCD can be maintained by using an extra flag which says about current flag or current record or not, by using yes or no. Type 3 SCD uses extra columns to store the information, but people prefer this only if you have to maintain only current value and the previous value, because adding more and more columns will bring more complexity to your data warehouse design. So whenever you want to maintain the current product cost and the old product cost, only two levels, then you can go with type 3 SCD. Here this column will have the old product cost and this column will have the current product cost, and the effective date says that from when this new product cost came into picture. That means before March 31st it's $10, after March 31st it's $15. This is type 3 SCD. And type 4 SCD, it just maintain only one record per product key, and it will always update the latest value directly to the table, and all the historical values will be maintained in a separate table called history table, in which the product changes will be tracked. All the changes will be tracked down. And the last type is the merge of type 1, type 2 and type 3. Here you will have extra columns added and extra rows added whenever there is a change, and the values also directly updated like in type 1 SCD. So these are the different types of SCDs. So I hope you understood the concepts, and stay tuned for more videos on SSIS, SSAS and SSRS interview questions. Thank you for watching. Bye bye guys.